Hello and welcome to MyGuy Reviews, where we talk about a subject once a week, every week. Then we have a segment of mini reviews and a segment of what's coming up. Usually we talk about things that are we come in blind. One of us comes in blind, and a guest comes to the table blind. Sorry, the person that picks the topic comes knowing about the topic, and the guest comes in blind. Either way, I'm MyGuy Monkey, and my guest today is
MyGuy Brig. Yay! I'm here.
You made it at last.
I know it's been so long.
Yeah, we've been waiting to see you on the show for so long. Yeah, I know our viewers have been waiting to see you. Okay, so this week our topic is a little different because we both had a film last week that we were really interested in seeing. So we wanted to talk about that film, but it happened to be two different films.
Yeah, you wanted to watch Dora the Explorer.
We both wanted to watch Dora the Explorer. That's a different matter.
I know that's and I wanted to watch Care Bears the movie, but yes.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I did.
Oh.
It's on Netflix or on Amazon Prime. I'm sure it's somewhere.
Okay, so our reviews today, we've both watched a different movie, and we're both going to talk about our movie, and then the other person's going to rate it, having not seen it at all. So,
I'm hoping you've seen a different film to me.
Hopefully, I mean, unless you've surprised me by watching the film that I was planning on seeing, which was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino.
Twist.
You watched it?
No.
No.
I've seen a different film.
Yes, I know. So tell everyone what your film is. I think I know, unless you've changed it.
My film is A Simple Favour.
A Simple Favour?
Yeah, stars Christian Blakely, Anna Kendrick. And I also watched a film starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, called Hobbs Shaw.
Sure. So which one do you want to talk about today? Because I did see Dora as well, and I can talk about that.
We'll do that in little previews in the reviews bit.
We'll do our mini reviews. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to talk about Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Excellent. Okay, who wants to start? Do you want to start?
You start because you've seen the Quentin Tarantino. Your film's longer. It's 3 hours.
Yes, that's true, and we've got to pack it in to quite a tight time today. So
yes.
Okay, so Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I guess I introduce it. It's Quentin Tarantino's 9th movie. He's done other movies, but he calls it his 9th. The 9th one is written-ish. It was written and directed and everything else. So, it's got Margot Robbie in it.
Yeah, she's in it.
As Sharon Tate. It's got Brad Pitt, and it's also got Leonardo DiCaprio. And they play a stuntman and an actor, respectively. And I can't ask you what you think of it because you haven't seen it.
No, well, you're going to do the spoiler-free review.
Exactly.
Give me the facts, and then I will give it a rating based on your information, right?
I mean, that's really hard because you say spoiler-free review, but to me, everything is a spoiler because whenever I watch a movie, I just find everything interesting, like the way that it sort of unfolds from your expectations. And you didn't even want to see the trailer, so even if I tell you what the premise of the film is,
yes,
it's spoiling the movie for you. So what can I do? How much spoiler can I give? Do you think?
I guess you can tell me the premise, right? Because that's got to be common knowledge for most people by now.
Yeah, I mean, I will have to talk about the trailer because then you'll know the premise a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's set in 60s Hollywood. It's about an actor and a stuntman and supposedly an actor who's sort of a TV actor who's sort of down on his career a bit, but I didn't find that so much. I think he's just down on himself when I actually watched the movie. That we'll see that as we go through the movie. And the other thing is that in the trailer, we see snippets of a famous historical event, which is the Manson murders. So we see potentially Charles Manson in the trailer, and it looks like the main two protagonists are living next door to Sharon Tate, which is where one of the people that were famously murdered by the Manson family in the 60s. So that's what we've got off the bat. And that's what people are expecting as we go in. I hope that's not too much spoiler so far.
Nope, I'm with you so far, but
Okay.
what you haven't mentioned like who plays who. So, who's the stuntman and who's the actor?
Brad Pitt is the stuntman. You want to know his actual name in the character?
Only if you remember. If you don't, then it's fine.
I do. It's Cliff Booth is the stuntman.
Booth. That's a cool name, isn't it?
Cliff Booth, yeah, he sounds like a stuntman. He sounds kick-ass. And Rick Dalton is the sort of face, the actor.
I guess Dalton has a movie leading man kind of name, doesn't it? Dalton.
Yeah, it definitely does, and he has that sort of smooth sort of look to him. Even though he's in the movie, within the movie, he has been in movies, but he's famous. I mean, it starts straight off with an interview, very blatantly just explaining who they are, which is quite funny. With someone interviewing the two of them and showing that they've worked together. Basically, Cliff Booth has been Rick Dalton's stuntman for a long time, and it's in this TV series. It's a bit like what's that Western TV series with the horse.
Lone Ranger. Lone Ranger.
Sort of it's like a bit of a Lone Ranger sort of thing to it. Yeah, I mean it's not directly, but it's got that theme, that idea to it.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, the trailer shows a lot of stuff that Dalton is in, like within the movie. But then, so straight away, I was expecting to see lots of weird sort of snapbacks between things, but it's played quite straight. Like we see quite a lot of the stuff from the trailer straight away, which it just talked about and then like thrown away. So the sort of maybe the style of the movie where you're expecting to see the whole movie, him being in lots of things, that's gone out the window straight away quite early on. And yeah, I mean it becomes more of a character movie to do with these two characters.
Are these two fictional then? Because Sharon Tate's a real person.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think it's great that you can ask some questions. Because yes, this whole movie is fiction put into reality. So yeah, Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth are completely made up. Sharon Tate, wife of Roman Polanski, did not have neighbors right next door on the same cul-de-sac. They're completely inserted into the movie. And there's even there's a scene with Bruce Lee in it, an actor playing Bruce Lee, where we see Chris Booth being injected into a conversation with Bruce Lee, which is quite funny. And yeah, it's not quite like reality, but I don't want to spoil too much of it. So, we do see basically we see the character of Dalton a lot, and how basically he's a bit of an insecure character, and we learn a bit more about his character and his film career, and it's quite good. We get to see him do some acting within the acting, which is great. Leonardo DiCaprio is great. Brad Pitt is great. He takes his top off. He kicks ass. Yeah, and then we get some. But the thing is, it's quite slow at the beginning. There's a lot of detail of 60s Hollywood. All the details are very good, of like all the media and stuff, and the film and radio stations and things. But it's a little bit indulgent and a little bit slow and little bit pointless at the beginning. I watched it twice.
Oh wow, you have seen it twice.
Yeah. I've watched it twice. So yeah, the first time it was a bit slow at the beginning, and I would say I liked the movie, but I couldn't say it was a good movie. But the second time, knowing what happens, you can sort of see where the seeds are planted a bit and just try and appreciate it a bit more. But Yeah, I mean, the reviews for this, I mean, people are very much in two camps. They're either saying it's a masterpiece, or they're saying, "What's the plot? I don't get it." Um, and yeah, fairly through the movie, Cliff Booth does encounter the Manson family a little.
Yeah,
Not as much as of Manson as you'd think from the trailer. Um, that's really the only time when things start to get a little bit interesting and tense for me. Um, and then really the whole movie, like it ignores. I mean, it keeps on showing Sharon Tate, Margot Robbie, but she's not really a big part of the movie. It's really about these other two, and it's
yeah,
not until the end, which you're expecting to see sort of the conclusion with the Manson murders because of all this stuff set up, that you're finally excited to see what's going to happen next. And then, I mean, I can't really describe it all to because that is the end. That would be spoilerific. So yeah, all I can say about the whole movie as a whole is it tries to show 60s Hollywood in a sort of it tries to show a real thing that happens, but in a sort of slightly fantasy angle. And definitely it has these extra characters who are just inserted, fictitious characters, completely inserted into this world that was real. So the whole Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that the title really is like, what if we made up a story
yeah.
within that sort of place? Um, yeah, so without spoilers, what do you think so far?
um, I it sounds like you're half selling it, and then at the same time you're putting the film down. By,
As always,
by
always. I'm always on the
uh,
fence. That's
I
always your
know.
problem with my reviews.
I know. That's why I've tried to kind of just give you no gray area, give you two choices. Um, so, do you want to do a spoiler alert and spoil the ending?
No, I don't want to spoil the ending. No,
Okay,
I
so
don't.
spoiler alert. This
You
is all
don't want to watch this
fictional.
film. You don't want to watch this film with spoilers. You want to watch it
So,
without.
so I'll put it on the podcast. But spoiler alert: this whole film is fictional, including the ending, because the ending never happened the way it plays out in the film.
It changes a little, yeah. You know, I don't have to spoil it too much by saying what changes and what doesn't. But yeah, that is the spoiler. The spoiler is that everything within the film, as you'll see, is changed, and things aren't quite the same.
And I think there's a lot of criticism about the film, and I think you kind of
Yeah,
briefly talked about two. So one is the Bruce Lee
yeah,
moment in the film
that
of
one got
when
some
he's
flack.
shooting Green Hornet,
Mm,
and that whole scene where he's just kind of talking about Muhammad Ali and kind of how and that really happened. It's in his book. I get all of that, but I think it's
mm.
his portrayal of being the way he is, and then he having that fight with Brad Pitt and Brad Pitt beating him, which
Yeah,
I love
I mean,
Brad Pitt.
yeah,
And I mean, he's a beautiful man, but there's no way that
no.
Bruce Lee would kind of take that put. Like
When I saw
Brad
it,
Pitt
I
was
was
stood up
like,
there,
no,
right? So
he could never kick his ass.
Brad Pitt was stood
He's
there.
a master.
Jet Li, not Jet, Bruce Lee. That
Bruce Lee.
the speed in which he kicked him initially, that the very first where he
Yeah,
bashed.
first one.
That's the kind of speed and kind of agility that I expect to see from Bruce
Mm,
Willis if he was genuinely in a fight with someone. And
yeah,
he just so easily just kind of like,
okay,
stopped his punches. The whole fight sequence, the way it's choreographed, it's
yeah.
fictional. You know it never happened
Mm. So
because there's no.
you know enough to talk about some of the spoilers then, so we can talk about
Out.
this
So
separately.
spoiler alert, I watched this film. That's why I
Uh,
tried to delay this podcast as
oh,
long as we could to try and hear how you'd
oh
sell me this
dear.
film spoiler free.
Okay.
So that I think that because that's a big criticism about that film was just that the Bruce Lee bit. So
Okay, Bruce Lee, yeah.
where do you stand with that? Because
Where
I
do
know
I
Bruce
stand with it?
Lee's
Well,
daughters
yeah,
come out and said stuff as well.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's played for laughs, so it basically takes the mick out of Bruce Lee. But obviously, we all love Bruce Lee, and we know that he isn't actually a belittled character. He's a
No,
master. He would never have anyone kick his ass.
no,
But
not in that manner.
no,
The way he just
but
stops all the punches, the kicks, and everything.
yeah, but at the same time, that's why it's a fiction. It's setting up why. Well, it's setting up the fact that Brad Pitt is a fictional, completely kick-ass character. I mean, there is no character in reality that would beat Bruce Lee, I don't think, in that time. But you make up a fictional character and you want to say, look, this guy can kick ass. What's the easiest way to do it? Is shove him in a scene with Bruce Lee and have him kick Bruce Lee's ass.
Exactly, yeah.
And yes,
To make
it's upsetting for the family, but it's a fiction. That's what's the point of it.
Yeah, and I think it's weird because the way it's all kind of shown, he's kind of, I guess if you know nothing about Bruce Lee and you watch this film in this day and age, you think there's this guy who's shooting this film back in the 60s, and he's very arrogant, very cocky. The things he was saying, the way he's made out to portray, and Brad Pitt's the good guy in this.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Is he even the good guy though? We're talking about spoilers now.
I mean, do we really know what happened to his wife? Because I watched it and I was like,
we don't know, which is great.
Yeah, and so is he the good guy or is he just misunderstood? Yeah. But then the way he beats up the guy for slashing his tire, the way he's kind of just like fixing the roof with his shirt off because he looks beautiful. Yeah. Like, is there really a dark side to him or not? It's not apparent, but the whole kind of like that dog, on the other hand, is crazy, right? At the end, that dog's amazing. He's got a pit bull, basically. Anyway, so all the stuff through it, it's
dog food, wolf dog food.
Yeah, it's bizarre because is he a little bit out of there or is he kind of normal? It's not clear. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he did. I think it's quite ambiguous, and I like that. I didn't like the whole Bruce Lee bit. And the other second criticism that I had about the film is like, you see all the posters and everything, right? You got Bruce. It's Quentin Tarantino film, and it's got Leo all over it, and it's got Brad Pitt, and the third person they've got kind of center is Margot Robbie. She hardly has much to do in this film.
She doesn't do anything.
She walks into a cinema. She watches herself. And she's quiet. She doesn't say anything. And then she appears more towards the end again. There isn't a lot of like.
It's just a teaser of her, isn't it? It's just there to keep you in the mind of what you think is going to happen at the end.
Yeah, and the rest of the star cast is just pretty much all male leads who just got little bits. So you've got so many other people around them
playing other famous people.
But her role, like Damian Lewis, the guy from Homeland, plays Steve McQueen. Al Pacino's there. He's at the start. There's Luke Perry, the late Luke Perry, who passed away quite recently. And there's so many other people who are playing famous people in this fictional world that Quentin Tarantino created.
There's a lot of pointless stuff to it. Steve McQueen, I didn't even realise was Steve McQueen until the second time round. He just stands there and tells us about a relationship we don't even need to know about, really.
Yeah. And I think the film Miranda's a lot. Like all these other films, something happens and there's a start, middle, end to it. And I think in this, you've got a first hour. It's exactly what you said earlier. Like it's quite long. It's exposition, but the character build up or whatever you want to call it, but nothing's really happening. He meets the girl. They go to the ranch, and he meets the family stuff. Like and that's kind of like
the atmosphere and that where finally he's there and just things are weird. You get that sort of fallout, sort of like sound effects that just make it really eerie.
Yeah, now you're thinking something's going to happen, and then it's still got an hour left to the film, and then things do happen. But for the first almost 2 hours, it's like, Leo's an incredible actor. You know what? This film's quite funny. I know I'm kicking it so much, but it's got some really good fun bits in it as well. Leo's incredible
as well. It is good.
It's good, but it's almost like it's a 3-hour film. You could have made it into 2 hours.
Yeah,
you could have even given Margot Robbie a better, bigger role. She's literally in there as kind of like, go to the cinema, go watch yourself, open the door to. Yeah, it's that's all she was in the film, and I agree with the criticism for both. I think the Bruce Lee fans, if you've never seen any of his films and don't know anything about him, and you come into this film, you'll be like, whoa, where's this come from? But if you don't realize it's just a fictional retelling, because by the end of the film, you realize none of those events really took place, not the way they kind of made them all out to be.
Of course not. I mean, as far as I knew going in, I knew Dalton and Booth were fictional, so you kind of know that they're just made up. But yeah, I think the second time viewing it with those eyes is it makes a lot more sense. Whereas the first time you just think, what? He would never beat Bruce Lee.
No, he would not.
And that first hour as well, like his last three films, Quentin Tarantino's films, have been long and slow, but they've always had tension. And that's what keeps you on the edge of your seat. But the first hour of this movie, there was no tension. It was just noisy Hollywood 60s, just loads and loads of noise and detail that kind of too much detail. Yeah, self-indulgent.
It's beautifully shot. There's some amazing highway scenes where everyone's got the kind of cars of the 60s. It has that look and feel of the 60s. So you know it's expensive.
For Los Angeles is a big part of it, the highway system. So it's worth putting there. But
because when you watch Hateful Eight, he's done it in a clever way where he's put the film and he's based it in a certain era, and he shows you very little of the world because of budget constraints. But in this film, it's almost like he's been given the money. And he just kind of like, let me just visually show you these incredible shots, and make it look so 1960s. The aesthetics and the way it looks is amazing. It's quite a funny film. It is a long film, but like Django, my only concern was the ending bit. You know, when you had the Quentin Tarantino comes in and captures it, all that bit is too long. But leading up to all of that was amazing.
Like, you know, he got Tarantino in the movie.
Yeah, he's the guy who's gonna kill Jamie Foxx right at the end.
Yeah. What about this movie though? Because I think he's in this movie.
You do think he is?
I do think he's in this movie. Yeah. Right at the very end.
Okay. Must have missed it then.
On the radio station.
He is. He
plays Robin. I think in a radio.
But it's almost like, you know, he can make whatever films he wants, and he makes some incredible films. But sometimes someone needs to just say to him, "Look, I think Endgame was 3 hours, and it's the highest-grossing film of all time. But your film doesn't have to be the same. You make it shorter. You can make it punchier. You can actually have a start, middle, and end to it."
So I think I had the same view as you the first time around, but the second time around, what I noticed was that a lot of the things that we see, that we are shown, are actually establishing shots. So one of the things we see several times that you get bored of is like at the bottom of their cul-de-sac where people are just driving in and driving out, like on the way out and just turning around the corner, and you think that why do they keep showing this so slowly? But then the second time around you realize that, you know, at the end they're going to use that cul-de-sac and they're going to park there, and you have a really strong idea of exactly where they are. And maybe that's why they've had all these establishing shots. But some things that were very unnecessary were the fact that Cliff Booth lived near an open air cinema drive-through. Like, that added nothing to the story. And the fact he had some magazines on his shelf. So those were details that weren't needed. But a lot of the other details were relatively useful.
So, given our coveted rating system,
right? Have we got Hobbs and Shaw to go yet? Or is it
we do. Yeah. So
okay.
I know you haven't seen, so I will do a spoiler-free review for that one. So
that's okay. I don't want to see it. Spoil it, mate.
So this film, what rating do you give it then?
Oh, that's a hard one. I give it a 5 or 6 out of 10. What are we on stars?
Well, whichever, because you always go for different ratings system.
Yeah, it's tricky. It'd be like a 2 out of 4 stars because it is enjoyable, but it's a bit like art. It's a bit you have to either enjoy it or not. It's not a straightforward, but everyone's going to enjoy it film. So I'm gonna give it 2 out of 4 stars.
Wow. So halfway down the middle, as always.
And I'm a Quentin Tarantino fan, and I love it. But...
I know. So I have my four simple things rating, right? So I have like, go spend your money, go to cinema, and immerse yourself in the experience. Yeah. Watch it on a DVD or rent it out on Sky Movies, whatever it is. The third option being stream it, because you've got a streaming service, you have to pay extra for it. And the last is just absolutely, just forget about it. So
watch it on TV.
No, forget about it. Right. So for me,
well, are you setting this one up for?
Okay, this is my watching a streaming service,
Yeah,
And in the
what part
first
of
hour, you could watch it and do other things in the background, and you
True,
won't miss a lot. I feel
true.
it is you know what, it is funny. The
Does
acting
feel
isn't
the character.
amazing.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, it looks incredible. 1960s aesthetic. It looks
What
amazing.
actually
Even
yeah.
even
Go
when
on.
she goes to the cinema, right? You know, when
Yeah.
they talk about the
Really
cost,
look-
and she goes, it looks like a cinema of that era.
Yeah.
Everything, even when they were shooting the Western, and he was talking to the little girl from American Housewives, I think it is.
Yeah.
She's really funny in that show, and
Really.
he's talking to her. All that just feels like 60s conversation. It feels like 60s kind of aesthetic. If they were making a Western back in then, it would look
Yeah.
like that, stuff like that. Yeah,
And it's good character stuff, like seeing Dalton trying to act in movies and how he's sort of insecure and all that stuff, and he's a bit of a drunk, and he's just trying to, and he's getting criticism from a child. That's all
yes,
like really good stuff. And also when we see him practice his lines, and then we're watching him in the movie, and suddenly his lines come up, and then you're like, oh wow, these are the lines that we heard him practice earlier, and then he fails them. Spoilers for doing
yes.
all
His
spoiling
first
over
time
his
he
stuff.
does, yeah.
It's
I
just
think
oh, it's
I think
brilliant. I love that stuff.
I think what's fascinating is, you know, that when they have the conversations and he does the first acting bit wrong, and
Mm.
obviously it's acting within a film, so it's acting within
Yeah,
acting.
acting with
And you
acting.
know
Yeah,
what, Leo is so good. And then
yeah,
when he does his second performance, and he pushes the girl onto
so
the
good.
floor, and the rest, and again he's still acting within a film, and he's doing his
Yeah,
act in act, and then he comes out of that and he's still in the film, but he's just so good. He doesn't break character. Like
uh,
I don't know, because I would find that, like, I find that incredible to watch,
yeah.
like his
And
bits.
he's so happy when he nails that scene as well.
He does,
Which I
yeah.
love about his character. It shows his character is a very swinging. He's either really happy or really depressed, and it's great. He's a great character, really.
Yeah.
Very realistic character
So now
and
that
good
we've
play.
have you got anything else you want to talk about for the Once Upon a Time,
The non-spoiler,
or
um,
spoilers? Film
non-spoilerish spoiler film.
twist.
Um, no, let's hear about Robson Shaw because
Okay.
we're on a limited time
Yeah.
today.
So the one thing I'd say about
I thought we were talking about Once Upon a Time
we are the
all
one thing I'd
together.
say about Once Upon a Time is a
Yeah,
criticism in a lot of films, especially Pixar films, is you have a female lead who doesn't talk to another female actor or actress in the film, or doesn't meet them.
there's a famous test that you can do
That's right,
where
yeah. And Pixar
yeah,
films are notoriously, the older ones have failed at a lot, like Toy Story and some incredible films, even Monsters Incorporated. And I think this is one of those films where you do have female characters, but they don't talk to each other. I think I can't
yeah,
remember that happening. So, okay, so now let's talk about Fast and Furious presents
yeah.
Hobbs and Shaws. Now, this one I'll do spoiler free. This is
Yeah, okay.
from the director of Deadpool 2. The stars, of
Okay.
course, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba is in it, Vanessa Kirby is also in here, and Helen Mirren from kind of like the previous one. So you know she's Jason Statham's mum. So she's back in this, and she's still his mum, as you'd
Wicked.
expect. But she's in prison, and I think that's in the trailer as well. So
Okay.
without giving too much about the plot away, because let's be honest, Fast and Furious films don't have a plot.
Yeah.
They gotta stop something from happening, and that's kind of it. So it stars the main villain in this is a British actor by the name of Idris Elba, who's incredible in everything he does, in my opinion. Him and obviously Jason Statham are both British. So if you got two British actors in the same film, you know they've somehow met each other at some point. And so they have that kind of moment where,
All
oh yeah,
British people know each other.
yeah,
I know Jason Statham.
exactly. We all know each other. It's quite a small world, a small island we live in. And so basically, he's gone off, and he's the villain, and it's to do with a super virus called Snowflake. I won't give anything too much away, spoilery, but anyway, involves Vanessa Kirby, played by her name is Hattie, and she's Jason Statham's sister. And so, because she's in trouble, they contact Jason Statham. And because the threat level is so high, they contact Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And then the two of them have to team up to bring down Idris Elba, and also kind of get the cure to this virus thing. So that's the basic premise of the film. Then they go all over the place in beautiful countries, and they have incredible action sequences, which you see in the trailers. And you know what? It's a really funny film. I mean, Deadpool 2 was really good. I really enjoyed it. The X-Force moment was one of the hilarious moments of that year, and so many great bits throughout the whole film. And this has so many funny bits. There's that constant they put downs for each other between Jason Statham and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and they are funny.
It's a comedy duo film.
Yeah, it's been a while since. Yeah, it's been a while since we have like buddy cop films or
they used to be
buddy...
every movie.
Yeah, and this kind
the
of
80s.
And now, since kind of like the Fast and Furious, the kind of have a bunch of people together is kind of become the norm. I think you could say Winter Soldier was a buddy film with him and Black Widow, but Falcon tagged along as well. So that's kind of like, it's not a buddy now. It becomes bigger. Yeah, third wheel.
Third wheel movie.
Yeah.
Got a new genre.
So there hasn't been many, even like, if you look at all the Marvel movies, they tend to be solo actor or team up movies. You didn't really have true buddy films.
No.
And this is the first kind of, I think in a long time that I can remember a good buddy film.
Yeah.
And
the first time for a while a good Fast and Furious film.
Oh, shots fired. Well, I haven't completed my review yet. You don't know.
Okay.
My only concern with a lot of these films is the action set pieces, right? If you've seen the trailer, and I think the first trailer is about 3 minutes long or something.
Right.
All the action beats that are played out in the trailer are clippets of a slightly longer action sequence that you'll see in the film.
The main sequence?
Almost all of them, yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
They're pretty much in there. So there's in the trailer, Dwayne jumps off a building and he's, beating up these people who are kind of jumping down the building, and Statham's taking the lift.
Yeah,
obviously that sequence,
sensible.
That sequence is played out a little bit longer, but it is literally that. The chase through London, which is in the trailer again, that's obviously shown on here as well. So a lot of the stuff you've already seen, a lot of the action set pieces, which is a bit annoying. But when you're in the cinema and you're immersed into the experience, the scenes are longer and there's just loads going on. So it's still a good experience. But when you watch a film like this and you've seen the trailer, especially when it's a long trailer, you've seen most of the best bits in terms of the action. But of course, the comedy is held back because this film is really funny. There's some really good comedic charm that Jason Statham has. If anyone's seen the film with him, Melissa McCarthy, in the Spy film, he is hilarious in that. He's so funny. He's great in
right?
That's right, yeah. And he's great in Lock, Stock. Not Lock, Stock, but he's great in Snatch. And he's also, I mean, that's not a comedy, but he is great in that. And he's also really funny in the Vinnie Jones film, The Longest Yard, but the UK football version of it. And he plays the goalkeeper in that. He's really good. But what they stick to is they stick to the two people's kind of strengths. So Dwayne, if he's fighting, he's a bit of a tank when he fights. It's not going to be as graceful. He's not going to be doing martial arts. He's doing brute force. So when he fights, he brings that action, and they play to that strength, and they give him. There'll be action set pieces where Statham is fighting and he's fighting side by side, but he'd be fighting someone who's brute his size, and they'll be kind of going pound for pound. While Jason Statham is more like, he's really graceful, and his martial arts skills from like Transporter and all of that really comes across in this film, and they really play on that. They play to both of people's strengths, and they both have separate action beats that way. I don't think one actor has more screen time than the other. I think it's really evenly done between the two of them.
You need that for a buddy movie. That's good.
Yeah. Maybe Dwayne has more. I don't know. But generally, from what I could remember, it seemed like both of them had equal kind of bearing. Idris Elba has a really good line in there. He calls himself Black Superman, which is good. Okay. I like that line. He's underutilized. He's the villain.
He's the bad guy. How can he be Black Superman if he's the bad guy?
Well, Superman can be bad.
Yeah, true.
I mean, look at Man of Steel. He just snapped that guy's head. I mean, he's evil.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He's a terrible, terrible.
He is evil in the current DC universe.
He's the main villain.
Yeah. Own
And
worst enemy.
And so yeah, so Idris Elba, I think, like in other films, you kind of really feel for the villain, and the villain could have a good arc or a good story. I think they concentrate more on these two actors, the main leads, to establish them in this franchise, to give them the film, and then the second film they should concentrate more on the villain. And like here's a goodie. But like in Black Panther, they gave Killmonger the backstory. They gave Killmonger everything that we always wanted in a Marvel. This film, unfortunately, doesn't have that villain with that backstory, but he's a good villain. He's got a good presence.
Does he survive the movie? So they can build his up in the next movie?
There's always a chance, even if you shoot someone in the head, right? There's always a chance. Like in The Kingsman, they brought back Colin Firth in The Kingsman in the sequel, even though he got shot in the head. So I mean
Fight Club, he's still alive at the end.
Oh yeah, even though he shot his head off. Yeah, I mean,
he
shoots the side of his face, right? This world film, yeah. Sorry. So yeah, he could still be around. It doesn't matter how he died in this film or how they beat him at the end. He could still be around. Anyway, he's got like these cybernetics. He's got cybernetics in him, and he makes him like more of a superhuman. And he can take a bit of a punch. He can dish out as well. So
brain might not have even been in that head. He could have been remote controlling it.
Yeah. So in the film, they obviously have been the agency kind of calls them in, and then the two team up. And the reason why they team up is because of Statham's sister, and then they go off and they do the whole kind of thing. But then as the film goes on, they have to at some point get cut off, don't they, from the agency, and so you have to come up with a way of making them go rogue, because otherwise no good film has them go back. Yeah, but no, even Mission Impossible films, you have to go rogue. That's the one thing you have to go. Because if you've got a nice fuzzy place to go back to, then there's no threat level, is there?
Yeah,
there's no peril because it's all good. So
it's always the same.
So then they have to go rogue because now they're the world's most wanted people. And so they go rogue, and and then they have to do the next stuff and stuff. But yeah, it's like a Fast and Furious film, and it starts off early on in the film. You can tell the difference, and they pick the two characters, and they're going to do the action sequences based on their size. So Dwayne comes out in a car, which is a big car, like a big pickup kind of car, like a 4x4 kind of car. And then Jason comes out in a car, and he's got like a slick supercar. So like a 2-door. I can't remember if it's an Aston Martin or something. But yeah, he's got like so you can tell the two people that one's driving a big muscle car and the other one's driving a supercar. So the two people. If you've never seen any Fast and Furious films together, you'll kind of establish who the two people are. They actually, Helen Mirren explains his sister's situation, and then you get the feeling that these two don't like each other. So if you've never seen a film, I think you can come into this cold, and you can still enjoy it because it's just two characters coming together and then kind of doing their thing. The action set pieces, because it's from the guy who made Deadpool 2, are incredible. There's a whole London chase scene which looks amazing. There's obviously it's ridiculous and it's over the top stuff as you'd expect from Fast and Furious franchise. There's a bit where it's in the trailer. There's a chain which is chained to a car, and they've chained it to a helicopter, so the helicopter can't get away, and it unravels in the car. So you imagine there's a helicopter flying above your head. What does Dwayne do? He just takes the chain in his hand and just pulls it.
Because
he does, doesn't he? And he's got a massive helicopter that he's pulling.
But so it's Dwayne.
It is Dwayne. He could do that.
He could do that. I mean, how much do you need to tug on a helicopter
to bring it towards?
You just pull it off of its axis. It's gonna come down. You just need
So the main, there's literally just the main four actors, and then there's a guy who plays kind of like the professor, and then there's kind of loads of different kind of little roles. But then there's a lady in the film called Elise Elysia Gonzalez, I think her name is. She was in from Dusk Till Dawn, the TV show, and she was in Baby Driver recently. And literally, her job was to walk across the screen. She's a good-looking woman. She walks across the screen, gives Jason Statham a big kiss, and gives him whatever he wants, and that's her role done. She must have shot that in her day. That's literally all she did.
You can't really diss Once Upon a Time's treatment of women now.
I can't, but actually, so Vanessa Kirby, I think she does speak to another female character in the film once.
Okay, that's pretty
maybe, or she was in the room when somebody was addressing the female character in the film. So I think she was at least in the room. She had some good action beats. So I think this was a criticism that Michelle Rodriguez made about the last Fast and Furious movie, that the female characters have been really sidelined and they don't have a lot to do. But in this kind of, Vanessa Kirby really holds her own. She gets a lot of action sequences as well. Not as much as Statham and Rock, nowhere near as much, but she still gets some. She does a lot of hand-to-hand combats. She does a lot of flips and stuff. So she can really more than hold her own. That's what they make out in this film.
If they're doing side projects, what if you call them, of Fast and Furious, and obviously the women need more representation, why don't they do a sideline of the females from Fast and Furious?
There was talk about a female spin-off. We mentioned that in our Fast and Furious franchise review. That could easily work, because you got Ramsey, who's your computer genius hacker kind of person. You got Michelle Rodriguez, who could play the Dwayne role. You've got Vanessa Kirby, who could play your Jason Statham role. You could have the girl who's also in this film. Helen Mirren could be the person who kind of like sits on, like not Russell Crowe, but like Kurt Russell does. She could play that role.
Yeah.
So there's enough female, and somehow bring back Gal Gadot, right? Because that's your. You can also bring in Jordan.
We don't need too many at once. We just need a couple.
No, because you need a team and you need a family, right? You need all these women to come together and to go off and do the spin-off together, and they've all got their own.
And then make them come to assemble at the end.
They can all assemble.
Fast and Furious women assemble.
Women assemble. It's to be fair, like that was the main criticism of the last film, and I think they kind of address it better here, and it doesn't feel like she's been sidelined and she's just kind of there as kind of eye candy, or she's just Statham's sister and doesn't really help out or anything. She more than holds her own. She has a great action beats as well. So from a film, it's a funny buddy film. Action is incredible.
Yeah, what are you going to get rated?
The two actors have amazing chemistry together, and you can easily just slide Idris Elba into the three-way. And Vanessa Hattie Shaw has great action sequences of her own as well. So based on my review, what rating do you give this film?
Aren't you going to review it first?
No, it's the whole thing is I review it and you then tell me if you liked it or not.
I don't know if you need to watch it in the cinema, but I think it sounds worth watching. It sounds a lot of comedy. So, what's the next one down from Cinema Watch in your rating system?
It's DVD.
DVD
or VOD. DVD or VOD. So buy it on demand or.
I don't know. It sounds really good anyway. It sounds like a proper good comedy. And action comedy. I'm not sure if I'd need to watch it in the cinema. So yeah, let's stick it down to DVD. What did you think?
I hated it. No, I loved it. Wow. I genuinely really loved the film. It's really good. I don't want to talk about any of the other things that happen in it because it'll spoil the film. Yeah. There's so many really good bits in it. It's really funny. Don't read anything into it. Don't watch anything about it. Just go into it and enjoy it. It is good.
I mean, I'd give it a 4 out of 4 stars for action comedy. It sounds
masterpiece.
Really good. So then again, I would definitely go and watch Tarantino's movie in the cinema, even though... Regardless, exactly. I just can't love a film just because it's Tarantino, though. It's okay. It's okay.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's our reviews. So we did Once Upon a Time, we did Hobbs Shaw, spoiler-free, and now it's time for our segment.
Okay. What have you been watching or doing?
So I watched The Simple Favour, as I said earlier, right? Yeah, I actually watched that this week. Have you
Okay.
seen this film?
No.
Okay, so last summer, maybe end of summer, it came out. It stars Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. It was kind of a sleeper hit film in the US.
Mm.
And it's just, as the film says, it's a simple favor. So Blake Lively befriends Anna Kendrick. They become best friends as they think each other are. And then she asks her for a simple favor. And then
Yes.
things start to kind of unravel with regards
Yeah.
to that. And there's too many nonsense twists right at the end. Otherwise, it's an okay film. It's
Okay.
it's
Cool.
it's okay. It's on streaming. It's on Netflix, and I'd say I know it made a lot of money, but personally, it's for me it is a Netflix film. Just watch it on Netflix.
Okay. Well, I saw Dora the Explorer or
Yes.
Dora
Now
and the Lost City of Gold.
I have a few questions about this
Okay. Go ahead.
because
We'll
I
start it this
watched
way. Ask the
I,
question.
I watched loads of Dora the Explorer,
Yeah.
the cartoon. Does Dora stop and talk to the cinema at any point and give you options of a left or right or different colors or what path to pick?
With the beginning of that question, yes, she does address the audience, but she doesn't give you choices. She just asks you to say certain things.
Delicioso.
I don't know if Delicioso was in there, but they
Vamonos?
it's kind of played for laughs basically. So it's kind of a joke, an inside joke of like what the character is. But it is quite funny.
Does she talk to her backpack? Can backpack talk?
At points in the movie, she does talk to her backpack.
Yes. Okay,
but
you're winning me over now.
in parts of the movie, so it's kind of like there's a slight distinction between fantasy and reality within the movie.
Okay.
But I can tell you, her monkey is a full
Boots.
Boots exists in the movie.
Okay, so everyone can see and hear him.
So,
Does he talk English? Does he speak? Sorry, English.
That would be a spoiler. Through most of the film, he doesn't. God.
So he spoiled the film already. Does he wear his coveted red shoes, red boots? Because that's why it's called boots.
I don't think I really noticed that because I didn't know the characters. I know Dora from the.
Did they ever jump into a vehicle and she said seatbelts so we can be safe?
Yes, that's
brilliant. That's a classic Dora line. This is a thing that I tell everyone because that's she's teaching. It's a good teaching moment. Does she ever ask for map?
Map is in the movie in parts as well, slightly. Yeah.
Does Map talk and tell people where to go?
Map does talk at some point in the movie, but again,
brilliant. Now you're winning me over. Now, did Swiper say anything? Because it's played by Benicio del Toro, and the way it always works in the show, Swiper comes to steal or take something, and they all have to say "Swiper, no swiping" 3 times. She tells the audience.
Swiping.
Does Benicio del Toro as Swiper the fox? Does he say anything? You don't have to say if he successfully swiped or didn't swipe. Does he say?
I don't think he does. I'm not quite sure. But he is a full action character within the movie. But although he doesn't say anything, he is a real thing in the movie. So he's a real CGI fox.
And he appears more than once?
Huh?
Does he appear more than once?
Yes, he appears more than, and he does snap. He does swipe something, and they do say the famous line.
Oh, brilliant! And does Diego refer to Dora as Primo?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a famous thing that whenever she said, "This is my cousin Diego," and he'd be "Hola, Primo."
Yeah.
Does she say the start of the film, "Hola, Dora"? Does she say hello in the film?
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
That's almost every episode starts with "Hola, Dora," and then I'm Boots, and she introduces Boots to the.
Might do. Just spoiler if you want for the very beginning.
No, don't spoil it because this sounds really good now. I'm actually on board. There's a lot more elements to this than I thought it would be.
It's not absolutely amazing, but it is good, and it does reference stuff in that way, and it's enjoyable definitely. One other thing that you might be excited about is you could have asked is, does she appear as a cartoon in this movie at all? I forgot. And spoilers. Watch it.
Yes.
Find out.
So now,
I know.
obviously, her mum in this is played by Eva Longoria and Michael Pena. I'm guessing they've got a small role, though they are incredibly big actors. So someone
Yeah,
who's not seen the TV
they got a
show,
solid place in the movie, but yeah.
for anyone who's not seen the TV show, is
Yeah.
it easy to kind of follow what's going on? And Dora's kind of like ridiculous backpack where she gets infinite stuff from. Her best friend Boots, who's a monkey with red shoes. Does that all kind of make sense?
I think if you even have a passing knowledge, then you should, as long as you know that it is taking the mickey out of something, I think you'll be okay.
Okay.
Obviously, I was okay just knowing really only knowing Dora, and that she asked the audience to point things out, and I still got all of the humour.
Did your screen generally laugh a lot, you think?
Let me see. I'm not quite
Or
sure. I can't remember that.
did you laugh a lot? Is it quite funny?
It's funny-ish. It's mostly references. I think they definitely laughed at some of her references to the movie, and I think people were quite excited to see Swiper as well.
Okay, brilliant.
There's one part where she's asked the audience to say something that's quite complicated, which is quite funny. Which I laughed loud at that. is like an obvious joke because she wouldn't have asked the children to say that. So that's quite good.
Okay, that's all my questions for Dora the Explorer, the movie. What
That's
did you
all your
think?
questions.
Yeah.
What did I think? I mean, generally, yeah, like I said, it's a good movie. It's funny. Doesn't take itself too seriously, and obviously a lot of it takes place in jungle parts, but which are obviously quite small scale sets. You can get that feeling,
Yeah.
but that's the way it's going to be, and it kind of jumps a little bit around in that way. But apart from that, yeah, I mean, it's a solid movie. I'll give it a 3 out of 4, whatever scale we're using.
Whatever rating you make up that day.
Yeah, I just make it up now. Just come up with something. Yeah. Anything else?
I watched 3 films this week, so I haven't had a chance to watch anything else. I've seen quite a lot, to be fair.
I'm still playing Dragon's Crown on PlayStation 3. I'm now trophy hunting, and it's getting quite hard work. That's about all to say on that. I also played a board game this week, an old board game.
Jumanji?
No, not that one. That's a fictitious board game as well. But funny, it's a game called Labyrinth. Did you ever play that?
No, I didn't even watch the film.
It's not related to the film, although there is a related board game to that. But it's a great old game that I played at a friend's many times, and I saw it in a charity shop and bought it. And it's quite a good film, quite a good board game, rather.
Yeah.
Where basically you've got an underground maze dungeon sort of thing, and you have to collect different things around the dungeon, and also the dungeon can move around and change as you're going through it. You need to try and make the path to. So it's quite simple child's game as well, quite simple for children, but yeah, it's quite fun. It's a good game. Recommend looking into it.
Brilliant. I finally finished the Borderlands 2 DLC.
Okay.
So this is the new DLC that they added. So the final boss battle
prelude
is
to Borderlands 3.
Yeah, and that Fight for Sanctuary. So the final boss battle is fine. You just literally have to shoot the boss through the vines. There's not much to it, but there's a raid boss at the end of it.
Yeah.
And that raid boss battle is quite good because ideally you want to be perched at a certain area and shoot a particular part of the boss. Now, if you do that a few times, the boss loses loads of health.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you miss and you're shooting elsewhere and you think, oh, I'm hitting it enough, it regens its health.
Wow.
So if you're not shooting it at its right area, it actually just regens, which I thought was a really good little feature to it because none of the raid bosses have that. It tends to be, as soon as you start taking the health down a certain amount, that's kind of where they stay.
Cool.
But yeah, it's good. But it's also, I think
challenge.
this is definitely one of the bosses where they've made a bit of thought behind to say if you've got two or more people playing this, it'd be easier because one could stand on one of the higher perches and one of the others can lure it out, and then you shoot the particular hit points, and then you'll take the health down. But yeah, it's good fun
Ooh.
boss battle at the end. But the actual missions itself were fine. They weren't as fun as kind of some of the other DLCs. And the final boss battle didn't seem like much. And biggest problem that I had with this DLC was all the other ones have better loot. So when you kill something, you get good loot. Go to vending machines, there's better loot, and loads of iridium or that pink stuff, purple stuff comes out. This one didn't have that many kind of loot cases and stuff, so it wasn't as good as the others. But the raid boss was good.
That they don't want to spoil you because they want you to buy the next game.
Exactly, yeah. So it can't give you everything.
It's like a teaser.
Yeah.
But it would have been good to at least like throw in a couple of the ideas of the guns just to get you excited for the new game.
Yeah, but it's great that they still release free content. Not many games do that nowadays, so it's good that after such a long time they still release free content for the game.
I'm a bit skeptical about it. I think it's just a ploy to get people interested in the game for selling their sequel. There we go.
Cool.
Anything we're looking forward to?
So I'm going to try and watch this Dora the Explorer now. You've really sold it to me.
I hope you enjoy it then. I do.
I mean, because I all the elements
if you like
that
Dora,
I talked about,
you're going to love it.
Yeah, because all the things that I asked about are the things that I love from the TV show, and it seems like they've actually stayed true to some of those elements, and they still made it live action. So I'm going to watch that.
I mean, it's mostly played for laughs, and in the trailer you can see it as
that's
well.
What I imagine. I think it'll be like it's basically it is a kids' film. It's live action, so they have to kind of water down certain things. And I'll definitely catch that. I think. Cool. I was originally very apprehensive about this one, but now that you've kind of like put those
just grab a child relative so you don't feel weird going to the cinema.
Exactly, that's my only problem. Like I need there to be like a midnight showing where I can sneak out, watch the film with other grown adults who enjoyed it when they were younger and just want to watch the film. Yeah, that's the only way I can. And then on Sky Movies, this film by James Wan's come out, so I'll give it a second watch, as much as I didn't like it the first time. That film's Aquaman.
Oh no!
Yeah. I'm gonna put myself through it again. Yeah.
No. Don't do it.
You know what? I think I have to give it a second watch.
Yeah, there were some good things about it, but then
like the credits.
The credit.
Because I knew the film was over.
No, early on the stuff was going quite well. It's just it went too far under.
Yeah, pre-credit stuff. You know, when the title card comes up, this is Aquaman. So to be fair, like Jason Momoa looks amazing as Aquaman. Like he's now, whenever I think of Aquaman back in the comics and the cartoons, he used to have that funny looking horse and the purple or pink kind of top. He is what I think of Aquaman now going forwards. I think that's a great compliment. Like if I think Superman, I still think Reeves Superman. I don't think Henry Cavill's Superman. I don't think he's won me over, but I do think Jason Momoa has won me over. Where if I ever read a comic now, I'll imagine Jason as Aquaman.
Absolutely, he does look like a great Aquaman.
Yeah,
he does look the part. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to Fighting Fantasy Festival 3 next week, which is a convention for fans of the Fighting Fantasy game book series from the 80s. So I'll be doing that. As I've talked about before, there's a new book coming out, there'll be a hardback edition exclusively sold there as well. And meeting a load of, I've met a lot of the authors and artists a couple of years ago when I went to it before, and there's a few more there that I haven't met, so I'll be meeting a couple more. So there's Russ Nicholson and Chris Achilleos. Chris Achilleos is a quite famous fantasy artist, so it's quite a big one. And of course Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson, who more people have heard of from being the series establishers of Fighting Fantasy series. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And also, I'm still on the PS3 on Dragon's Crown, but I've rebought Lollipop Chainsaw as well, which is a PS3 game.
Yes, written by James Gunn.
I've talked about before, so
yeah,
right.
The director of Guardians of the Galaxy, he wrote it.
Oh, Oh wow, okay. Well, it is a really, really good, funny game. It's kind of parody of action games and zombie games. Yeah, I'll talk about more of that when I replay it again. So
Yeah, brilliant.
okay,
So that's the end of our podcast. It's quite a punchier podcast, an hour on the dot right now, which is our quickest,
excellent.
and we've did it. We finally did it. How
Yes,
can they contact us?
you can contact us by going to the description and looking at all of that good stuff. Ways to contact us. Give us your ideas for um, future episodes, future topics, please, and then we can consider them for the future.
Yes, and however you download your podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and then just tell us how bad we
Yeah,
really are.
of course.
Just whatever the rating is what helps, kind of like
Yeah,
the movement in the charts, and more people can see it, and that's the easiest way.
yeah.
The other
We just
option
want
is
more
just
people to see it, otherwise,
yeah.
what's the
I mean,
point?
and the other option is steal a friend's phone and just download the podcast, and then they'll one day
That's a good
discover
idea.
it.
If you can steal a lot of phones,
Yeah,
just
click
use
on
them all.
subscribe.
Use them all to subscribe, and yeah, that'd be great.
And then give them back, because obviously we don't endorse stealing. We're not Fast and Furious boys here.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
good
Thanks for
stuff.
listening. Thanks.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.